In preparing for this talk, I realized I was the only female speaker. And I think I have an idea as why this may be the case. For taking up the privilege to speak to you here today has been a similar process as to when I started my business 2 years ago. And today I want to talk to you about what it feels like to start your own business. The constant, unrelenting internal struggles that you have to work through. And I believe that it is these struggles that really shape your approach, your strategy, and planning as you start on your entrepreneurial journey. So in 2015, 1 year before coming to Japan to study my MBA, I was based in Johannesburg, South Africa, and I worked for a global mining company. The job paid well and it had meaning. I really loved the work that I did. But that same year, the mining industry experienced an unprecedented downturn. And with dismal financial results and investors to appease, mining companies were shedding jobs like you would bail water out of a sinking ship. And I was one of these unfortunate industry cast-off. So by December 2015, I was without a job and in a crisis. So my immediate reaction was to look for a new job. And I applied for 5 different positions, but none of them materialized. It was then I decided to go home to Cape Town, feeling like a total failure and worthless. And my father picked me up from the airport as he usually does, and I announced to him, "Papa, I'm officially unemployed." And he looks at me with this broad smile, and he says, "So am I. I'm self-employed. You have to create your own work, and you have to employ others." His words created a shift in my mind as to what was possible. And with this nudge, I took the plunge to start my own consulting business. Now, I want to give you some context of my experience of South Africa. My country is famous, or rather infamous, for its apartheid laws and policies. And I've lived through the last 15 years of it. And no, I won't just forget about it or get over it as some of my white South Africans would want. Because the apartheid legacy is alive and well, and it continues to recreate the same economic and social patterns. So in short, the odds are stacked up high against you if you're a brown-skinned South African female. And tacit and overt discrimination really shapes and defines what we think is possible for ourselves. So I've had fleeting thoughts of wanting to be my own boss, but I never really took this seriously because I didn't think it was possible for somebody like me. And I've also enjoyed formal employment ever since I could be legally employed. Formal employment has been a great source of pride, identity, and income. And I've had many titles, from being a till packer when I got my first job in a retail store packing other people's groceries, to a researcher, a consultant, and finally a social performance advisor. Now these titles sound very grand, but none of them really fitted who I was as a person. But when you're a first generation university and high school graduate, you carry the hopes and dreams of multiple generations. And that includes getting a good education and getting a good job. So, but what have I been quietly told? South African society has told me, you are a worker. This is your mold, and you should be grateful for the salary that you earn. Now, the irony is, I come from a long line of entrepreneurs. My great-grandfather was a hawker selling organic fruits and vegetables in the local neighborhoods. Both my grandparents were entrepreneurs. My parents, who never finished high school, were of the founding members of the South African taxi industry, an industry of informal transport operated, rooted in serving people and places the previous government neglected. But this history is disregarded. It's not valued. These stories aren't told, and there's no account of their achievements. And it's this disregard, I believe, that really shapes South African people's deep desires and aspirations to be employees. And entrepreneurship still is an activity of last resort, as it was with me. So what did I need to get started? So in real terms, I had to create a company that is so good on paper that it immediately builds trust in prospective clients. A company that is legitimate and ready to take on work. To be blunt, I had to hide behind this company to get in front of prospective clients because my skin tone won't. So in addition to this external gender and racial discrimination, there's a deep internal struggle, which is equally as challenging. Nobody tells you of the roller coaster ride you go on when you start a business. You battle a myriad of emotions: stress, anxiety, self-doubt, fear, insecurity. And we create these mental barriers that stop us from starting in the first place. So many times I've questioned myself, what do you think you're doing? Nobody's going to hire you. And you don't just overcome these. You have to work through these negative emotions daily. And to do that, you need courage. You need bucket loads of courage. You need determination to get over the self-doubt and rock-bottom self-esteem. And you have to have the audacity to dream. To dream of creating a company, even though nobody else like you has done the same. So through this entrepreneurial journey, I learned that a strong sense of self is at the heart of it. It's what gives me the courage and determination to work through these negative emotions. So self-esteem, to me, is critical to business success. For this internal struggle of continuing to silence the doubt and self-restraint is real and unrelenting. And I think it is this self-doubt and restraint which is the reason why there's no other woman on stage here with me today. And I think this conformity and self-restraint to what we think is acceptable is something that plagues women more. We simply don't think we're good enough and not worthy. So studies of female entrepreneurship have shown that issues such as motivation, fear of success and failure, lack of confidence, lack of role models, risk aversion, all these self-limiting factors rank up high in some of the challenges that female African entrepreneurs face. Now this is over and above real issues of discrimination, as well as issues such as access to finance, for example, where there's a $20 billion financing gap for female entrepreneurs in sub-Saharan Africa. But this sense of self doesn't come automatic. It's something that is developed and it's something that is nurtured. And I think it's the best thing that we can do for ourselves. Because if we want to change how the world sees us, we have to change how we see ourselves. Now in closing, I want to do a short exercise. And I'm going to ask all the ladies to stand up. And if some of the guys want to join in solidarity, please do. So I want you to pretend you're holding this rock in your hands. And you take this rock everywhere. And you get so used to it. But every now and then you start to feel the weight of this rock. This is the rock of self-doubt. Now I want you to put it down. And I want you to raise up your hands up high, and we're going to practice Amy Cuddy's power pose. I personally prefer Winnie Madikizela's power pose. So every time you feel this weight of self-doubt, drop it and strike a pose. Thank you.